every week with our office hours. And today with me is Sean. Sean, thanks for joining me. Please tell a few words about today's sessions. What can we expect?
Yeah, so I'm going to be going over building, data products, data experiences with AI in Luzmo. And basically, how I see it is there's kind of maybe two broad topics that I'm going to cover. The first is using the AI functionalities that Luzmo just provides you in the application itself. So if you're using Luzmo, you have access to these features and functionalities. But I'll also touch on at the end or afterwards how you can use your own AI to help build on top of Luzmo. So if you have your own, coding agent, a cloud, a codex, whatever you're using, how to utilize those best with Luzmo to quickly and easily build out everything. And essentially, the whole theme of this is using AI to make your life easier and to make the best data product for end users essentially, and helping you get there through AI.
Will you be taking any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So to start with, going to do a bit of the rundown of what I just discussed, but feel free to run some questions through wherever you're watching. If you are, where I don't actually know every spot we're streaming, but if you are watching, feel free to put through some questions, and then I'll catch those either when we have a little bit of time during the presentation, or certainly at the end. We'll definitely have some open time to answer any and all questions.
Sure, that sounds good. So we have about 20 to 25 minutes. So why don't we get started? And when you're joining us, please don't hesitate to introduce yourself. Let us know if you can hear and see us well. And if you have any questions that immediately come to mind when you think about using AI in Luzmo and with Luzmo, please share them immediately and we'll make sure to follow up on them shortly. Over to you, Sean. Let's get going.
Perfect. All right, I'll just start sharing my screen then. And while that's popping up, what I'm going to cover first is, what I mentioned initially, using AI functionalities that Lesmo kind of provides out of the box to you. And now hopefully you are seeing my screen. I'll just double check to make sure that's correct. Looks like it. So you're seeing Lesmo. I'm logged into Lesmo. I've got my account here, and you'll see here on the left, I'm in the data sets tab. So let's start right from the beginning. You need data to get, to do really much anything within Lesmo, and we do have some AI functionalities to help out there. So the first things that you can do is, let me just find a. Actually, you can either, of course, just use one of our out of the box connectors or upload your data into Lesmo initially. Or if you have anything already in your application or already loaded in, you can click and use that. So I'll just jump into one of my data sets. Exists in tabular format as you'd expect. And one of the things worth already touching on is if I go to this add button, this blue button that's popped up in the top right, and click formula, this is how you create a metric, a calculation within Lesmo to help you visualize and get the KPIs, the metrics, whatever you want. Now we do, let's say, have our classic way of building things out, where it's a system where you can find like the average of a column, for example, divided that by anything else. But what we are talking about right now is AI functionality. So we do have an AI formula builder here, where you can just ask to build a formula, which is generally a lot easier. So let's see, average. S- job prestige divided by a distinct count of users, let's say. And what's going to happen is it's going to look at your columns. It's going to attempt to build out this formula so that you don't have to, understand or build it out yourself. And you'll see it's already came out. Average job prestige divided by distinct count of user ID. So just exactly what I asked. And then you can save that formula for use when building dashboards. The other thing worth showing within the data set side of things is if in any data set, if you click this details button with this little information, you'll see right now I have all my columns listed for this data set. And there's this button called create missing description. So beside each column, you have the ability, a free form text input to describe what that column means. And by using, you can do it manually, but if you use this create missing descriptions, it's going to make a first pass attempt to, fill things in. So, user ID, it looks, it's not, it's kind of a data set way of header that's been built, USR underscore ID. We'll probably understand it as a user ID, and the description is going to actually hopefully show that as well. And the reason why this is important is when you give access to your data sets to AI to try to build charts, to answer questions, as much context as you can give to the AI to help it understand the data is going to be very beneficial to make sure that you're actually getting the results you want or accurate results. Something like user ID, probably very obvious to an AI what that means. As you can see, it already picked up what that should be and made a description. But there's other things in here that may not be as obvious. It may require your kind of business knowledge, your business context. So while this is good for getting most of your columns descriptions created, it's definitely worth, especially if you know that certain columns maybe aren't completely understandable without a little bit of your own knowledge. You can then further add in additional context into your description. But it's definitely worth, and I would highly recommend that you fill in these column descriptions. And you'll also notice at the bottom that formula I created, you can also create a description for that. But now that the data is in and ready, what you'll notice when you first log into Luzmo, and the top part of this navigation here on the left is this Analyst tab, where you can here add your data sets that you have connected. So if I find this data set I created, you can now start just asking questions to your data. So it could be show me amount of time spent by job prestige, let's say. This is a very random, it's kind of a faked demo data app. Data sorry. Uh, dating data, throwing that one out there. But basically, you're going to be able to converse with the data. It's going to attempt to create an answer versus a natural language answer, and then build a chart that makes sense for it. So you'll see here, it's already made viewing profiles. I won't read it all. Varies by job prestige, and then it creates a chart to help showcase that. You can continue the conversation going, maybe split out by city tier instead. But it's basically you just asking questions to your data. There's a few other functionalities here I can already share that's going to help you with this within the analyst page. So I kind of understand the data as it exists. But what you'll see here is if you use the app button, you're going to be able to actually quickly view all the different columns that you have available, as well as, and I'll just wait for this to pop up though before I try to ask anything else. And here we go. Let's split things out. There we go. But you can, for example, say pie chart by, and then if you click at, okay, I'm interested in, you know, target politics, measuring the swipe velocity. Why not? And clicking that, you're going to start building out a new chart. So a lot of ways, whether you already understand the data, just want to start asking questions, or you want to get a little help along the way, kind of finding out what is in the data. It's all available on this analyst page. And the final feature I'll quickly go over here is you'll see I've created a widget. It's created a pie chart as I asked it. If this button copy to dashboard. So what that means is in this analyst page, you can have that conversation with the data, but say you want to add it to an existing dashboard that you have, or maybe even just create it to a new dashboard. It's now copied to my new dashboard. If I click open, here it is in our dashboard editor, which leads nicely into the next feature that I did want to share, which is within the dashboard editor, we have quite a few AI functionalities to help you get up and running. The first is if you click this add item button at the top. Ooh, let me just do a quick refresh on my page here. Let me go back for a second. There we go. What you can do is you can find your data sets or multiple data sets, as you don't have to be limited to one. And then you can ask it to help build a chart. So the difference here between the analyst is you can ask for a natural language response. You can ask for find a correlation, do things like that. This is very specifically about helping you build a widget into a dashboard. So again, I could do a donut chart of, let me just go back into the things here, donut chart of user politics by red flag count. And I need to add that one back in. And it's going to build your widget. And what you're going to see here under the right as that's building is this prompt section. And you can see what it's doing. But what's going to be nice here is now I'm going to be able to start editing the settings of this uh, widget that I've just created, again, just by prompting and asking for updates. So add a legend, let's say. It's going to think about this request, add, then make that change into the widget itself. Once this one's done, what I'll share is while I've created this via AI, and you'll see now my legend has popped up, what essentially it's doing is it's just taking our old way of working, which was also very friendly and easy. It's a drag and drop system and a lot of different settings within this widget. But basically, all these settings here that you see here, which I can manually change. For example, do I want a donut or a pie? I'll switch it to donut. Um, the legend, which I enabled, for example, all these settings, instead of having to manually adjust and change them, you're going to be able to just ask the AI to update things yourself. I'd still say it's worth looking into these settings. It gives you a pretty good idea of what is possible. For example, you may not know that you can switch where the legend goes, where it's a little more obvious if you've taken a look at the settings. But now that I kind of understand what's possible, for example, uh, put my legend on, and it's going to be able to then do that instead of having to use the settings tab where you have to manually add things. And yeah, it's popped it up to the top. So that's probably our main feature functionality when it comes to helping build your dashboard at the moment. What we also provide though is I'm just going to quickly add another widget in here just to fill things out. We'll just average this. But we do have an out of the box widget. If you click on this add item, you'll see we do have something called an AI summary widget. So this is just a very easy thing that you can add into a dashboard. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a summary of the existing widgets in this dashboard and write it out as text. While it's thinking about that, if I click the edit button on this, you'll see in the settings, there's things you can adjust, like whether there's a scroll bar, AI label, and also what's really important, the word limit. So you can limit exactly how much text it attempts to create when it's doing this summary. And then what's also going to be very interesting is this custom prompt button. If I click it, you can actually prompt it to help guide how it writes out the actual answer or the summary. So you can, for example, say, I want it in bullet point form, or I don't want it in bullet point form. Give me a top 5 summary, whatever makes sense in your case. And hopefully in a second here, it will pop up. But essentially, it's going to just create that 80 word, in this case, max summary of it's a pretty basic dashboard, but 2 different widgets here. Let me try cloning it, see if that does anything here. There we go. So you'll see here, user behavior across political spectrums. It gives me 3 bullet points. And it's just basically giving a summary of these 2 widgets that exist. Maybe I'll quickly ask if there's any questions up to this point. Otherwise, I can keep going.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but I do have a quick question for you regarding the AI summary. Do
Mhm.
you recommend to use this widget on every single dashboard that our users create, or are there specific use cases where it's more relevant from your experience?
Yeah, I think it's a very useful widget, and whether you could probably argue it could be used on almost any dashboard, but I guess the reality is sometimes a dashboard is fairly self-explanatory as it is. Like if you, for example, just had 4 different number widgets here that are it's just a number. There's not a lot of summarizing required. Whereas when you start getting into things like pie charts, donut charts, column charts, where there's a little more comparison and not just a number being kind of thrown in your face. I think it's often very, very useful to just have a AI summary widget somewhere in that dashboard to quickly kind of, it basically looks at that widget so that your user doesn't have to.
And is it easy to regenerate the summary as you're adding more widgets, potentially more data sets to the dashboard?
Yeah, it's very easy. It's basically just going to automatically utilize any and all widgets that exist here. So if I were to supposed to create a, let's do, let's whether they have dogs, and we'll measure the job prestige. You'll see I just added a new widget here, and it's automatically updating based on that widget. And what's really cool too is even as the user interacts with the dashboard, so you'll see now here, uh, yeah, that's the new widget I created about dogs present and their job prestige. Is if I start interacting, so for example, here I want to apply a filter by clicking on this donut chart. Not only is it filtering the rest of the dashboard widgets, that number widget, the column chart, it's actually updating this summary as well. So it's completely interactive with the rest of your dashboard, just like basically every other widget that we have.
Yeah, that looks pretty helpful. And again, encouraging everyone who is watching this live to ask questions if you have any. And for now, let's continue with the demo.
Perfect. So I'm going to jump out of Lesmo. So what I've showed right now is kind of you working within Lesmo. You've kind of logged in. You're the direct, let's say, user of us. But as an embedded analytics platform, basically a very large portion of the value of using us is building a data product that is going to be in front of end users. So what I'll share now is some of those features and functionalities that you can enable for them via Lesmo. And on this tab, I have it's a demo app. It's called Sales Compass, but it's built using Lesmo functionalities where we're pretending this is maybe your product that you've built and you're embedding us to help with displaying data, showing the data insights to your users. So I'm going to log in as in this case Marcus Williams into the Sales Compass application. And to be clear, so everything here on the left, we're pretending this is the Sales Compass application. It's not Lesmo. But what they've embedded, and you'll see here in the main part of the page, are a variety of different Lesmos features and functionalities. On this page in particular, there's a lot of our AI functions. So if I look at the bottom right, this Ask Sales Compass kind of widget, it looks like this is a chat interface. It's a front end component that we provide out of the box. So it's very easy for you to just embed and put somewhere in your application. It can exist like this as almost like a widget looking implementation. It could also be a full page if you'd like, or you could set it up as a pop up. So where the user has to click like a little floating bubble, and then the chat pops up for the user to interact with. Now, this feature is very similar to that analyst page. It's the idea of asking questions to the data and getting a natural language response back, as well as a chart to help clarify what you've asked. So, show me my last 4 quarters of sales. You'll see I'm not great typing right now, but it should still be able to manage. Um, but similar to that analyst page, it's going to give me a response and create a chart with it. And similar with the analyst, what I've done is a fairly simple question, like show me the last 4 quarters of sales. But you should be able to go ask more deep questions as well to analyze it. Sales grew sharply in the most recent quarter. So now I could ask, for example, why did it rise in the most recent quarter? And it's going to look and see if it can find any correlation. Won't go as far as to say it's going to find the causation, but it's going to see if there's any interesting bits within the data that maybe helps explain what you're looking at. I'll just give it a
Sean, and
second.
from your experience, we are all increasingly using LLMs and chat interfaces. Are you noticing as well that users now prefer to chat with a bot about their data and query their data in this format? Is this something that our customers are noticing as well?
I think it's a really good question. There's probably the thought of like where um, dashboards versus AI chatbots exist, and are they separate things where like one kills the other? And I think what we've been finding a lot is they really complement each other really well. Um, where there's still value in having the most obvious, the most metrics that you're just going to want to see at a glance, and then you have that ability to then, okay, you notice something, I'm going to ask and go a little bit deeper, and then that's where the AI comes in, and maybe based on what you've discovered from interacting with the data, maybe then you understand, hey, this is a really useful visualization that should exist in a dashboard, and then do things to actually add that to your dashboard. So I find they really they work well together, and probably actually enhance each other. It's just a blank slate of ask questions to your data. You may not know where to start, you may not understand what you should ask, and just a dashboard itself, it may be a little bit more difficult to actually ask questions. For example, why did it rise? It found out because they shifted to higher value deals, and not because you closed more deals. So they really, piggyback off each other really nicely. And I think the combination of the two is actually what we're finding to be the strongest implementation.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation.
Now, I'll leave it there. So yeah, that was more the, instead of like give me an answer with numbers, it's like try to find out why. And you'll see it has me attempt to find it, and it found something interesting, which is higher value deals, and not because you actually close more deals. Now, this is the out of the box component that we provide. Very easy to embed. It's utilizing our same authorization mechanism that you use for normal dashboards. So it's very quick and easy to get up and running. But there is some limitations to it as far as how custom it can go. And maybe the biggest, let's say, if you want to call it a limitation of the out of the box component, is it has to exist as it is. You can't embed this directly into, for example, a different chat widget. Like maybe you already have some AI functionalities. You maybe already have a chatbot that does things not data related, but maybe like answer support questions. But you'd also like it to be able to, the user to be able to ask questions to their data in that existing chatbot. So while this out of the box component doesn't allow that, what we do have is our API is open, which means that you can actually build a completely custom AI data experience via our API, which, for example, could be tied directly into a existing chatbot. So here at the top right, it's just a text field. It's not something that Luzmo provides, and but via the API, you can now ask questions to your data. Who is my best salesperson, for example, could be a question you ask. Now, this is making this workflow is going through our API to ask the question, to give a response. In this case, we've set it up, I believe, to just give a text response. It could also provide a chart if you'd like. It could only provide a chart if you'd like. But you'll see this is a completely custom implementation. It's not our component. You put this wherever you want. And yeah, we're finding this is a very interesting for a lot of our customers, because you don't want 5 different text box, 5 different chat bots for the, slightly different AI functionalities. You want a unified experience, and if you need that, then the API implementation allows you to do that. You'll see, yeah, I got a response. Who's my best salesperson? So these are a few of the ways you can give your end users access to ask your data, but it doesn't stop there. What we also allow you to do is we have the ability for you to embed our BI tool. So if I we call it the embedded dashboard editor here, but what you're seeing is essentially this is what I was just in Luzmo, the ability to add new items, create new widgets, but embedded for your end user. So I won't share it again, but this is the exact same interface where a user can then, donut chart of sales, just do something quick, and it's going to create that widget. So this is now your end user, though, building and managing dashboards, utilizing those AI functionalities I already showcased. So it's also very possible to give your end user that builder experience, the ability to build dashboards, and also utilize that AI functionalities that we provide there. That's about it as far as Luzmo functionalities. Maybe before I finish off, I will quickly go over utilizing, or how we help you use your own coding agents to work with Luzmo. So if I get out of this kind of end user experience here, if I go to our developer documentation, what you'll see is on the left, we've got our different tabs. Is at the bottom, there's these LLM resources. And the quick of it is we provide an agents.md and an LLMs.txt. And these two documents essentially are going to be able to, you're basically going to be able to feed these to your coding agent, to your AI, whatever you're using, and it's going to help guide in the usage of Luzmo. It gives you all the context, gives access to our documentation and all the understanding so that they can answer questions to help you with your embedding, with your integration, anything like that. I'd say it's mostly around the embedding and integration. This, but yeah, it can go. You can really ask anything once you've given access to it. So for a very quick showcase here, I'll just do. It's nothing fancy, but I'll just go into Gemini. I'm saying, use these two documents, my agents and LMS. And the question I wrote is, please outline how I would build a dynamic navigation based on what dashboards my user has access to. So it's a pretty common and very useful thing you can do with Lesmo is you may give different users access to different dashboards. So your navigation has to be dynamic. It has to be able to, depending on the users logged in, show what they should have access to without needing to go into my documentation and find it, which of course is possible. We do have all the documentation around how to do that. You could then add this to your coding agent where it's actually going to now give you that rundown, how to do it. You'll see it's also, in this case, providing the code for you. So in this case, it's a Node.js example. You could probably ask it to use whatever backend language you're using. So it's starting to generate the embed token, retrieving a dashboard list, doing the front end navigation. So it's just step by step outlining things for you. It's just a quick example, but really highly recommend utilizing uh, yeah, AI help when you're implementing us, even if it's not the actual coding itself and it's just asking questions. If you put these documentation, for example, into Claude Code or something like that, you could actually get it to update your code live. I'm not going to do that for a demonstration, but you can either use it for just asking questions or even go as far as implement this code into your integration.
And what is your take on this, Sean? Do you feel that this, in a way, democratizes pretty much like building or changing the dashboards even further? If you're not as tech savvy, if you're not a developer, will this be helpful for you as a product manager, for example? Or do you feel you still need to be sufficiently tech savvy to be able to ship changes or update the look and feel of the dashboards?
Yeah, I think it does allow a lot more users to more easily test, validate, and even integrate and update things within Lesmo. Um, we generally talk to a lot of product managers, product people, because they're the ones evaluating and seeing whether we could be a right fit because we're going to be embedded in their product. Usually, it's a product person who's trying to make that determination. And yeah, I definitely see with the AI coding and the AI implementation is they're way more enabled to just do the testing themselves when they're doing this evaluation, the validation side of things, where they can really build a full integration. They'll generally still hand things off to the devs to make sure before pushing to production, of course. But when it comes to building a POC, like, yeah, you don't need to be particularly technical. There's probably some level of understanding you need on some of these things, but generally, I did a hackathon where within 2 afternoons, without even looking at the code, I was able to build an application using Lesmo dashboards. Um, so yeah, I think it really opens things up for a wider range of users, and then to test and validate. And even when it comes to the implementation, the developers can certainly utilize it and gain a lot of productivity gains that way as well.
So what I'm hearing is it's a lot easier to get started, it's a lot easier to iterate, and it's a lot faster for developers who are actually deploying this to ship it with the help of the coding agents.
Yeah, definitely. It's really that's definitely the biggest value is the speed that it's providing. It just makes life so much easier, so much faster for wherever along the road you are, whether it's the initial testing all the way to production and shipping changes.
Fair enough. A quick time check. We have only a few minutes left, and in case you're watching us and you have any questions that you really want Sean to answer, please share them in chat. Um, and yeah, Sean, if there's something else that you wanted to run us through, please go ahead.
think I caught everything I wanted for today. I think something else that we didn't. It probably needs a full other session, but worth mentioning, especially with the coding, AI coding side of things we were just talking about, is we released something called the analytics component kit, which is what I was sharing was using Luzmo itself, where it's a very, you're in our application to build dashboards and then integrate those, embed those into your application. But the analytics component kit allows you to build everything a little more from like the ground up. They're basically the building blocks where instead of building a full dashboard, you can integrate via code our dashboards, our widgets. You can build a completely unique reporting experience. And this product really, really benefits from the AI coding. Like it's super quick, super easy. That was that hackathon I used. I was talking about that I built something out on. That components kit really benefits from it, and it really just gives you the ability to build the exact data product that you want for your users. So I think that's a really exciting, way to use AIs with those analytics component kits as well.
And thanks for calling this out because we actually ran a full dedicated session on the analytics component kit last week. So we'll make sure to share it with everyone who signed up for this session so that you can watch the recording. And I think we're going to do at least a couple more sessions around ACK in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. And we do have one question from our chat here. And Sebastian is asking, Sean, is it possible to connect Luzmo IQ directly with dashboard like a data set?
Uh, I guess if I understand the question correctly, it's kind of like, would you want the let's say chat experience to be somehow connected to the dashboard, or is there any features functionalities you want? Because let's just say there is a pop-up version of the IQ chatbot, which could be beside, utilized with a dashboard. Let's say, um, right at this moment, though, there's no way. They're technically separate entities. The IQ chatbot doesn't understand or recognize the dashboard. I think that's something we're actually looking to hook up in the future, though. Where, for example, from the IQ chat, you could then pin a widget into the dashboard, for example. But like, if you had the chatbot open, you wouldn't be able to ask based on that chart in the dashboard. You would need to provide it the context through the text itself. Let's say. But if there's any more specific feature functionalities, I'd love to know.
Yeah, and Sebastian, please let us know if that answers your question or there's something else that we can clarify for you. And I think Sean can also jump on a quick follow-up session with you to, demo what's possible and maybe to get building, experimenting a little bit as well.
Yeah, we can
And
absolutely, especially with the IQ side of things. You have the analyst in the application, which should be available in app. IQ, we technically need to enable it for you so you can embed and test that way. But if that's interesting to actually test, like customer facing, definitely get in touch with us and we can make sure you have the correct access to do so.
I think that's the beauty of Luzmo that you can basically test everything out, and it makes a lot of sense to try building things to understand what's possible and like explore the different approaches that you can take. So I think, yeah, like a mini build out session can be something useful here as well. And as we're coming up on time, just a quick call out to everyone watching in case you have any more questions about either using AI capabilities in Luzmo or using your AI coding assistants agents alongside our product, please share them in chat. Sean will be able to take them. If not, please follow up with us if you rewatch the recording and something comes to mind. I know quite a few of you will be watching this as a recording as well. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer the questions or just jump on a quick 15, 30-minute session where you can ask any questions you have, or like we just discussed, have some sort of mini building session, mini hackathon where you try different things and see what makes the most sense for your product. I don't see any more questions at the moment. Quickly checking our other live streams. It doesn't seem like we have any more questions. And I think we can wrap up for now. Sean, thank you so much for running this session. Hopefully, this was a good learning experience for everyone. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to follow up with us. We are more than happy to answer them after the session ends.
Perfect. And maybe I looked at Sebastian's question, and maybe if I'm understanding, he asks, is it connect IQ directly with the dashboard and then in brackets like data set? Um, in case the question is like, does the chatbot have access to the same data? Yeah, that's totally, it's utilizing the same authorization mechanism. So you can make sure that the chatbot has access to the same data that the dashboard does. You can even have make sure it has access to different data if that was you're so interested in as well. So if that was the question, since you mentioned data sets, maybe that clarifies. But otherwise, yeah, nice to chat with everyone, and thanks for hosting, Lina. And yeah, I guess we'll be wrapping her up now.
Yes, thanks everyone. Tune in next week. Like I said, we run these every week, and we always try to pick a practical topic that can help you learn from us. So, looking forward to seeing you next week. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone. Bye.